People move to Seattle with Queen Anne at the top of their list, and some of them regret it once they're actually living there. So today I'm breaking down whether that reputation still holds up in 2026. I've helped hundreds of families find the right Seattle neighborhood, and this is the one I get asked about the most. By the end of this video, you'll know if it fits your life or if it just sounds good on paper. All right, why does Queen Anne have so much hype? Well, you know a neighborhood is doing something right when people recognize the name before they've even been to the city. So what actually built that reputation here in Queen Anne? Well, a few things all came together here that you really don't get anywhere else in Seattle. You've got the views, the water, the skyline, all of it, and people love views, right? That's usually the number one thing buyers ask for when they move to Seattle, and this area delivers that in a way very few spots can. The elevation plays a big role here. It changes how everything feels when you're living there. Then you've got the homes. These are classic Seattle homes, early 1900 builds, Queen Anne Victorians, craftsmen's, bungalows, the whole range of that era, the kind of places people in newer construction wish they had. So when you're walking these streets, you're kind of seeing the original version of the city. It just feels good. During rehabs of older homes, you can find old newspaper articles out of the walls about the Space Needle being built. The kind of history is literally inside these houses. Now, here's the big takeaway, and I said this at the start. This is one of those neighborhoods where even people who've never been to Seattle know it by name. The kind of recognition doesn't happen by accident. And hey, if you've already owned a home here or you're thinking about it, I've got a free home valuation tool linked below. Takes about 2 minutes, gives you a real number based on today's market. Go check that out, then come back because there's a lot more to cover. All right, so let's get into what it actually feels like to live here day to day, because the reputation is one thing, but living there is another. Imagine setting up your life in a way where you don't really need to leave your neighborhood. It's not an exaggeration, that's how people describe living at the top of Queen Anne. Now this area is split into two very different parts. You've got Upper Queen Anne that's the top of the hill and Lower Queen Anne below. The new name for Lower Queen Anne is Uptown, down by the Seattle Center and Climate Pledge Arena. Totally different feel, but when people talk about this neighborhood, they're usually talking about the top, so that's what we're focused on. Up there, it feels like a small village above the city. It's quiet with tree-lined streets, and you've got everything you need close by. Trader Joe's, the new Safeway, restaurants, coffee shops, gyms, all walkable. I remember doing a podcast with someone who lives up there, and he said, "I feel like I never leave the hill." That pretty much sums it up. And the geography is a big part of why it feels this way. Some of the steepest streets in Seattle are right here, and there are staircases all through the neighborhood. People actually run into each other on those. You start to know your neighbors. That's pretty rare in a city like this. And when we get into real estate, the same hill creates some very specific things most buyers don't see coming. Now, if you set your life up right here, you don't really need to leave. That's the core of how this place works, and everything else builds off of that. Now let's get into what's driving that, because the upside here is longer than what you see in most Seattle neighborhoods. Now walk through the top of Queen Anne on a weekend morning and you'll see it right away. It's just hard to explain. Feels like a neighborhood that actually works. Start with the family feel. You've got kids everywhere, it's established, settled, and you can feel the community when you spend time up there. It's the kind of quiet people with families are looking for, because there's energy and it just works for families. Now the walkability is some of the best in Seattle. You can handle your day-to-day without getting in your car every time you need something. That adds up quickly. And the parks are incredible. Kinnear Park has wooded trails and views over the waterfront. Everyone has heard of Cary Park, but watch out for the crowds and tourists. Instead, go to Marshall Park. Incredible views just without the crowds. Schools are also a big reason people buy here. Could be one of the #1 reasons they do. Queen Anne Elementary and Co Elementary are highly rated, a 9 out of 10 on great schools with strong academics and a really solid student to teacher ratio. For a public school, that is a big deal, and it's a big reason families move in and stay. Now you've got food and local spots, that's part of it too. Lisa and I will go out of our way from Capitol Hill to go to Bounty Kitchen. It's right at Queen Anne Ave North and Boston Street, right in the center. We used to think it was expensive years ago, but now we go and it feels like a great deal. The place is just super clean with super healthy food. That's the overall feel up there. The hill itself plays a role too. It naturally limits how much foot traffic comes through, and it gives the top a very different feel compared to flatter parts of the city. Now stay with me, because when we get to the final answer later, all of this is what makes it a little more nuanced than a simple yes or no. So this is one of the most livable neighborhoods around, especially if your lifestyle fits it, but there are real trade-offs, and I'll walk you through those next. Okay, nobody's going to say this, so I will. Queen Anne is amazing until you need to leave it. I'm serious. The same hill that makes it feel so private at the top is the one you're dealing with every time you go anywhere. Getting in and out can be tough. Mercer Street is the main way through. People call it the Mercer mess, and it backs up all the time, especially when something is going on at Climate Pledge Arena, or it's just normal rush hour. Even in non-rush hour, it can back up. You've got a couple of exits off Highway 99, both of which get congested, and there isn't a clean way around them. During rush hour, it is a grind. So the ideal setup here is working from home. If you're remote and you've got your day-to-day dialed in up top, groceries, gym, restaurants, parks, all close by, it works really well. But if you're commuting every day, you're going to feel it. Another thing, this is not a nightlife spot. You've got some good restaurants, a couple of solid bars, but if you want energy late at night, this won't be your scene. You don't see a lot of young singles up here. It leans more towards people who want things calm and predictable. Also, a few practical things right now. The Queen Anne pool is closed until fall 2027 because of an underground leak. Parking up top has gotten tighter. The city is reviewing curb space, so you could see more paid parking or stricter limits coming. You're basically coming here for stability, a quieter pace, and a more settled day-to-day. If that lines up with what you want, this area works perfectly. If it doesn't, it can feel a little limiting. So now that you've got the full picture of what it's like living here, let's get into what the market looks like right now, because 2026 has opened up some real opportunities. After everything you've heard about the lifestyle, the market here starts to make a lot of sense. Single-family homes at the top of the hill are the hot product. Strong demand, low inventory, and people who buy here tend to stay. That has been consistent. The market reflects the lifestyle. Families move in and they hold on. When people find what they were looking for here, they don't leave. So listings don't come up very often, and when they do, they move quickly up top. Condos are a different situation. Demand is softened across Seattle, and that shows up here too. If you're looking in Lower Queen Anne, you've got more leverage as a buyer than you did a couple of years ago. Median prices are sitting in the mid-800s, with many one-bedrooms in the 300s as values have come down from the peak. Now, the overall market in 2026 is starting to rebalance. After years of really intense competition, buyers finally have some room to negotiate. That wasn't the case before. If you missed out because you couldn't compete with waived contingencies or aggressive offers, this is a different window. Homes are sitting longer than they were even a year ago, and that creates a real opportunity to get in. So now that you've got a clear picture of the market, let's get into who this neighborhood really works for. Not every neighborhood fits every buyer, and this is one of the clearest examples of a place with a very specific fit. If you've got a family, this is one of the best spots in Seattle to raise kids. Strong public schools, kids all over the place, easy to walk, great parks, a farmer's market that runs every week from late May through early October. It pulls in thousands of people and feels like a real community event, not just a quick stop for groceries. That kind of setup is hard to find in a city this size. Now, if you work from home, this is where it really clicks. The commute we talked about doesn't matter, and what you're left with is one of the most walkable and polished neighborhoods in the Pacific Northwest. Feels like a small town, but you're still right next to the city. That combination is tough to beat. If you do have to commute right into downtown, where Amazon is, South Lake Union, it is not that bad. So if you're someone who wants character home with long-term value, this is one of the most stable places to do it. Craftsman homes, historic Seattle properties, stuff that holds value and grows over time. This area has been desirable for over 100 years, and that hasn't changed. This is one of those neighborhoods where you can set up your whole life and not feel the need to leave. People move here and stay, not because they have to, but because they want to. All right, now let's get a clear picture on who this is not a great fit for, because this is where people make expensive mistakes. If you're young, single, and your life revolves around going out, this is going to feel too quiet. Up on the hill, it leans towards families and people who are more settled. That's a big reason people love it. But if you're looking for energy late at night, you're going to notice what's missing pretty quickly. More so if you're commuting every day to the east side, Redmond, Bellevue, or any of those tech campuses on the east side, that traffic situation we talked about is going to wear you down. I know homeowners who loved everything about this area, chose it, and a few months in, the daily drive had them rethinking everything. You've got to factor that in when you're making a decision. And if you're trying to stay under a certain price point, single-family homes up top start around the mid-1 millions, even right now. On top of that, owning a historic home comes with ongoing costs. Materials, repairs, and keeping things true to the style. It adds up. The charm is real, but so is the maintenance. Now let's get to the question behind this whole video. Is it worth the hype? Well, here's my honest answer. It depends on what you're expecting, and that's why this isn't a simple yes or no. If you come here expecting nightlife, an easy commute, or that fast-paced city feel, that's not going to land the way you think. That's never been what this area offers. You end up blaming the neighborhood when it's just really not the right match. But if you want a place that's easy to live in day to day, walkable, great for families, with homes you really can't find anywhere else, strong schools, a real sense of community, and views that remind you why you picked Seattle, then this absolutely delivers. And right now in 2026, the timing is actually pretty solid. The market is leveled out, buyers have room to negotiate again, and the projects in progress are going to improve how everything connects over the next several years. Queen Anne doesn't try to be everything, and that's exactly why the right buyer ends up loving it. For over 125 years, it's been one of the most consistent neighborhoods in Seattle, and nothing about 2026 really changes that. If you're seriously thinking about this area and want to know what's actually available right now at this entry point, shoot me an email at hello@mwagnerteam.com. I work with buyers in this market every day, and I can tell you what's worth your time and what's not. I've got a video linked right here that breaks down everything new coming to Seattle in 2026. If this neighborhood is on your list, you need to understand what's changing around it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.